You're watching Hot Wok Academy. My name is Ming Jin Tong. I am so excited. Today we are going to be making a Vietnamese style rice paper spring roll, and we want to help you master your kitchen. So put us on, cook with us, and let's go. Okay, for our spring rolls, let's talk about the ingredients that we're using today. So we've got here, this is sweet Thai basil, very aromatic. This has been rinsed and it's still on the stem so you can see what it looks like. And from here, we will be picking these herbs a little bit later. We've also got fresh mint. This is cilantro in sprigs. And of course, we've got some bean sprouts to give us that crisp. For our proteins, we've got two kinds of proteins. This is the wonderful pork loaf product. Now, this is a Vietnamese product. You can find it at your local Asian grocery store. Usually it's gonna be in the frozen section, so buy it ahead of time, let it thaw. This is a great product that you can use for a lot of different meals. I really enjoy this in my spring rolls. And of course, we've got here, this is just shrimp that I have taken out of the shell. I've cut in half and I've just blanched them very briefly. You don't want to overcook your shrimp. These are going to be great in our spring roll. For our noodles, we've just got this rice stick, and the only ingredients that are in here are simply rice and water. And what you want to do is you want to find a noodle that is nice and thin so that it can cook very quickly. Now what I've got here, these are already cooked and I've already drained them and they're ready to go. What I did was I just boiled water in a pot and I set the raw noodle in and covered it, just left it there for 4 minutes, took it out, rinsed it. It's the perfect texture. It won't stick together. Really, really easy to use. You can rinse it in cold water when you're done. For our sauce today, we're gonna be using this fish sauce. Actually, I just found this yesterday at a local Asian grocery store. This is Sun fish sauce, and it's got a very aromatic flavor, and of course, very salty. The only ingredients that are in here are simply anchovies and sea salt. So great product. I want to recommend this one to you as well. And for our sauce, we're also going to be using some fresh limes, and get yourself a good reamer. If you don't have a good reamer to work with, you might want to go get one. I really like mine, especially because the edges of the reamer are nice and firm and sharp. And what that does is that helps me to remove not only the juice, but all of the pulp from my lime. So do that. And then lastly, the last ingredient is just this brown sugar, which I've actually got over there on the stove behind me. And I've got it just on low heat with some water to let that melt. For our wrappers today, we're gonna be using this rice paper. You can buy rice paper like this. It's very thin sheets, and you can buy at pretty much any Asian grocery store. I'll show you how we get it ready for use in just a moment. And the last ingredient that I wanted to demo today is just our carrots. So what we want to do, we do want to have just some fresh carrots in there because I like the crunch. If you want to marinate it in some warm sugar water with a little bit of vinegar, you could do that as well. I'm just going to add mine straight because I want that texture to be a contrast to everything else that's relatively soft. So what I'll do, get yourself a good Y-shaped peeler. I really like the Y peeler because of the way that you're able to hold it. And let's go ahead and just peel off a section of the skin that we're going to be using here. And from here, first of all, this is a big fat carrot. You know what? It's because it's going to be easier. I'll show you in a minute. It's going to be easier to work with when you are trying to make julienne slices from it, okay? After you peel it, what I want to do, I'm just going to cut off the thin end and cut off the part that I did not peel, and I'll set that aside, throw this for my compost. And what I want to do is I want to make real thin slices in the carrot so that I can come back across and make julienne cuts. But it's really dangerous. In fact, look at my index finger. I cut myself a couple weeks ago, still healing right through the nail. But it's really dangerous to cut an object that's not still. So what you want to do is hold it real still and I'm gonna go ahead and make one big fat cut, and that's gonna produce a very nice and flat surface for me to be able to get my product so that it's not moving around, okay? So put that flat side down, and now that carrot is nice and stable. Let's go ahead and do some very thin slices. I really am just kind of shaving it right off the side of the carrot. Make sure your knife is nice and sharp, and keep your fingernails tucked in against the product and make those shaves all the way across that carrot. When the carrot becomes too thin and unstable, you really should stop. You're gonna have the same problem. What you can do is you can turn that carrot around so that the flat edge is now what you're cutting, and you can keep making slices if you want. For now, I think we've actually got enough. So from here, these nice shaves of carrot, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna almost treat them like a deck of cards. So let's go ahead and fold them or put them all nice and flat like that. And what I wanna do is go ahead and spread that out again, just like a deck of cards. And now I'm ready to go across this way with my knife and make nice julienne slices. So you can watch here. I'm again just holding, making sure that the carrot slices are not moving by keeping my fingertips on them. And I'm just coming across ever so gently to make these little julienne cuts of the carrot. I want them nice and thin so that they match the delicacy of the herbs and the thinness of the bean sprouts. Let's go ahead and finish that up. Don't concentrate on moving fast. When you are learning to cook, you want to concentrate on getting it accurate, not fast. Speed will come, and really in the kitchen, especially when you're cooking for pleasure, for home, speed does not matter. Slow down, enjoy the process. Okay, here's our carrots ready to go, and we'll set them right on by our bean sprouts. Okay, and for this pork loaf, what we want to do is let's go ahead and unwrap that. It's got this little string on there, and we can take it out of the wrapper. And this is the product that you'll find here. Let's go ahead and make one nice clean slice. And I'll take the wrapper off as well. Okay, from here, what we want to do is we want to make some pretty thin slices. So if you ever had a bologna sandwich, you know how thick bologna is, about 1/8 of an inch. We want to go about half of that thickness. It's really up to you though. There is no right and there is no wrong. It just depends on the texture that you want to have in your spring roll. So I'm going to do some slices here. All right. And then from here, same thing. You could treat it like a deck of cards, just the same. Spread it out. And I'm going to do some rather wide slices here. All right. And there you go. And we'll set that in with our shrimp. And now we are ready to roll. Let's go ahead and get going with that. Set this over here. For our rice paper, what we want to do is we want to take one sheet, and you could put it into a plate of water and just make sure that gets under the water there and all around. And this is just room temperature water. It does not have to be hot water. In fact, if you use hot water, it will actually get too soft too fast. So I will make sure that my rice paper is thoroughly wet, let it drip a little bit, and I can set that right on the board. And believe it or not, that crunchy rice paper will soften up completely right away. All right, first thing you want to do is get a little bit of this rice noodle. Don't put too much. It's always tempting to add too many ingredients, and then your rice, your spring roll is too hard to roll up. So just add a little bit of rice noodles there. And I'm going to go ahead and add some of my pork. Here's some shrimp. And then what you want to do is for these herbs, you do want to kind of break them before you put them in so they're not too difficult to bite through. You can also just use the leaves if you like. I do like the stem, so I'm going to add that here. I'll pick some of this mint leaf. You don't want too much. It's very strong flavors. And then this is your basil. And for that little splash of color, here is some carrot. Oh, look at that. I just picked up the rice paper. So this is actually a good demonstration here. Look at how sticky the rice paper has become. You have to be careful to leave it flat on the board. I accidentally grabbed it when I went to pick up the mint leaf, and that's what happens. It'll stick to itself. Here's a little bit of that carrot. And let's go ahead and roll it. This is the part that is the most tricky. When you put your ingredients, you want to put it right in the center of the circle, not toward the part closer to you, but right in the center. Now you're going to pick up the part that's closer, and look at how stretchy that's become. And you want to go ahead and wrap it all the way over, and very carefully you can pull it back. Okay? Give it half a roll from here. Then I want to tuck in the sides and complete my roll. All right, and there you have a completed spring roll. Let's go ahead and make another one. Let me demonstrate this time a different dipping methodology. So this is a different tool, maybe one that you've not seen before. Let me get one that's not curled up. The rice paper, when it's exposed to the air, there's about 36% humidity in the house today, and you can see how quickly it begins to curl. So this tool here, what you want to do is, if you've never seen this tool before, this is a great one to use if you're making spring rolls as a family or for your household. You can have this on the table. It's very simple. It's got two parts. I'll turn it sideways so you can clearly see that. There's one part that the rice paper sits in to be held for use. You can set it right here and just kind of show you. And when you're ready to make a spring roll, you can take that out and simply dip it into the water and give it one turn so that it's completely wet. And when it is thoroughly wet, you could take it out and again, lay that on the board. You're ready to go. You don't need hot water. You don't need a lot of water. So let's go ahead and make another one. I'll do some noodles, again, right along the center. And you can tell by how looking at the other one, how fat it is to see if I put the right amount of noodles. That is about the right size that I would like. So put that there. And if you want, you can think about the way that the spring roll will look at the very end. So for instance, if I want to see the shrimp, I can actually put the shrimp along the edge on the outside so it's more visible. And I'll do some carrots in the back so that I can see the carrots as well. Do some bean sprouts for that nice crunch. Again, some Thai basil, a little bit of mint. Do another mint leaf over here. And then of course, a sprig or two of cilantro. And then finally, I will top it off with my pork loaf. Just a couple pieces here. And let me demonstrate that roll one more time. After you have all your items, you want to take the center back and you want to fold it over and give it a roll. Then you want to take the edge and finish giving it that roll. Okay, and this one actually, you can tell, if you look at kind of the transparency between the two, this one is a lot more wet, and that's because it's had a bit of time to soak. Don't worry about it. If it feels a little bit firm after you've rolled it, just leave it. There's so much moisture inside of the spring roll that it will actually begin to soften that skin if you just leave it alone. It's better to under soak your rice paper than to over soak it. Okay, let's go ahead and leave that, and let's move on to making our sauce. I'll go ahead and move these out of the way. Now, for our sauce, what you want to do, get yourself a bowl with a small ladle to be able to mix. And here's how I like to imagine it. When you make this spring roll dipping sauce, I like to think of it first as making a hot limeade, meaning a high temperature limeade. And from there, you're gonna add sugar, you're gonna add chili, and then your fish sauce, okay? So let's start with cutting our lime in half. When you cut your lime, always give it a nice firm roll. I'll roll it over here so you can see it. Give it a nice firm roll, and what you're doing is you are breaking up those pockets that are inside the lime, and you're gonna be releasing that moisture a little bit easier. Let's just give it one quick slice. And from here, I wanna take my reamer, and I really wanna get in there, and I wanna remove all of that juice, and I wanna remove all of that pulp. What I'm doing is I'm holding that skin as closely against the side of the reamer as I can, and you can just see how much juice is coming out of there. It's just amazing. And all of that pulp, I really love that pulp because it creates a nice, beautiful texture in the sauce, not just the juice. So, all right, let's get all that out. And you can see how well that removes all of the juice and all of that pulp. Okay, from here, I do wanna add a little bit of my chili flakes. So this is dried ground chili. It is not very spicy, even though it looks very threatening perhaps. Try some by putting it in hot water to see what you think of the spice level. I'll go ahead and open this up here. And let's just add a little bit. All right. And for my sugar, like I said, I already had my sugar in the pot, so let me bring that over. And again, this is what they call brown candy slab. And this is a solid bar of brown sugar. I like to use it because I really like the color that it produces, and it's got a very neutral sweet taste. So I'll add a little bit of that. All right. And finally, I'm gonna add some hot water to help the spices to bloom in that hot water. Okay, but not too much. You don't want to dilute all the flavors too badly. Give that a mix. In here, I've got my lime, my chili flakes, my brown sugar, and a little bit of water. And and that's hot water. I want to let my spices bloom a little bit. And from here, this now is where I add my salt by adding the fish sauce. Let's go ahead and add that in. Fish sauce is a very strong flavor, but with all these other flavors, it's going to go very well together. All right. Let's give that a mix. And let me pour that out so you can actually see the color that you should be going for. So before I do that, I'm just gonna taste a little bit here. This is what I'm tasting for. Is it salty? It should be salty because there's no other salt in the rest of the spring roll. Is it sweet to offset that saltiness? And is it sour to get a nice tang? And also, do I like the color? So let's take a sip and just try it. That is perfect. I don't know my measurements, but for you, make it at home. Start with the lime and build up from there. And this is the color and the texture that you should be looking for. Okay. That's it for making spring rolls. I hope you try it and enjoy it.